It was a quiet Sunday night, and I was home alone for the first time in months. My parents had gone out of town for the weekend, and my younger brother was staying at a friend's place. I didn't mind. I had snacks, Netflix, and a peaceful night planned. It was around 11:30 p.m. when I first heard the knock. Not on the front door, on the window behind the kitchen sink. It was soft tap tap tap, barely audible. I paused the movie I was watching and tilted my head, listening. Then it came again. Tap, tap, tap. I got up slowly and walked into the kitchen, my bare feet silent on the wooden floor. I turned off the light to see better through the window. For a moment, I didn't see anything. But as my eyes adjusted to the darkness outside, I saw him, a man, standing just beyond the light of the porch, motionless, facing the window. He wasn't moving, not even breathing, it seemed. My heart skipped. I flicked on the porch light. The man didn't flinch. He wore a hoodie with the hood pulled low, casting his face in shadow. He had something in his hand, a small object. A camera? A phone? Couldn't tell. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. That's when he smiled. A wide, toothy, inhuman smile. I backed away from the window and locked all the doors in the house. The operator answered, and I told them someone was outside my house. They said an officer was on the way. I hid in the living room, crouched behind the couch, waiting, listening. 15 minutes passed. Then headlights lit up my driveway. I ran to the door and opened it, relieved to see the police car. But the driveway was empty. The man was gone. The officer walked around, checked the property, and found no sign of the intruder. They told me to keep the doors locked and call again if I saw anything. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I reviewed the footage on our doorbell camera. At 11:28 p.m., the man walked up the driveway. At 11:29 p.m., he stared directly into the camera and smiled. But here's the part that chilled me. At 2:47 a.m., long after the police had left, he came back, and this time he wasn't alone. There were 3 of them, standing at the edge of the porch, motionless, watching the house. Then the footage cut to static. That night, I stayed at a friend's place. My parents returned the next day, and we installed new security systems. But a week later, I got a text from an unknown number, just a picture, a shot of me sleeping in my bed, taken from the hallway. I live in a fairly old apartment complex just outside of Portland, Oregon. It's nothing fancy. 3 floors, no elevator, creaky wooden stairs, and a weird smell in the hallways that never really goes away. I moved in about a year ago after getting a job in the city, and for the most part, everything was normal. Until it wasn't. I live on the 2nd floor, Unit 2B. It's a 1-bedroom with a small kitchen and an even smaller bathroom. Rent was cheap, which should have been a red flag. But I was broke and desperate, so I took it. Everything started about 3 months ago. One night, I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone with the lights off. It was around 1:30 a.m. That's when I heard it, a voice, faint, muffled, coming from the vent. First, I thought it was just the neighbors upstairs. The walls here are thin, and I often hear them arguing or playing music. But this was different. It wasn't coming from above. It was coming from inside the vent right next to my bed. It sounded like a whisper. I leaned in closer. "Hey, you awake?" I shot up, heart pounding. I stared at the vent, trying to make sense of what I just heard. Was someone talking to me? I didn't respond. After a few seconds of silence, I chalked it up to my imagination or maybe some weird echo. But the next night, it happened again. This time, the voice was clearer. "I can see you, you know. You look tired." I jumped out of bed, turned on all the lights, and stared at the vent. I felt sick to my stomach. That was no imagination. Someone was on the other side, watching me. I reported it to the landlord the next morning. He brushed it off, said it was probably the old pipes making noises, or maybe some neighbor messing around. He said he'd look into it, but nothing changed. Over the next few weeks, the voice kept coming back. always around 1 to 2 a.m., always saying the same kind of things. You sleep with the door open. Why? I like that shirt you wore yesterday. You cry when you sleep. That one hit me hard because it was true. I had cried myself to sleep the night before after a horrible day at work. But how would anyone know that unless they were watching me? That's when I decided to investigate. The crawlspace discovery. I called in sick one day and went looking around the apartment building. I wanted to find out where the vents led and if there was any way someone could be accessing them. I spoke with an older tenant on the 3rd floor, Mrs. Halvorsen. She'd lived here for 20 years. When I mentioned the vents, her face went pale. She told me that back in 2004, a tenant had disappeared. A girl named Erin, quiet, kept to herself. After she vanished, people started hearing noises in the walls. Whispers, scratches. Rumors spread that someone had been living in the crawl spaces. Maintenance eventually found signs that someone had set up a small nest behind the vents. Food wrappers, a blanket, even Polaroid photos taken through air vents of other tenants in their apartments. They never caught the guy. I asked why they didn't seal off the vents or do anything. She looked at me and said, "They tried, but he always found a way back in." The camera plan. That night, I bought a cheap mini spy cam and placed it pointing at the vent in my bedroom. I also left a note near the vent that said, "I know you're there." The voice didn't come that night, but the next morning I checked the footage. Around 2:03 a.m., the vent cover moved slightly. A hand came out, pale, thin, with long fingers. I grabbed the note. Then I saw something that made my blood run cold. A face, half visible, one eye, smiling. He whispered, "Found you." Police? No help. I went straight to the police, showed them the footage. They said they'd investigate. They came by, did a quick look around, didn't find anything, and left. They didn't check the crawl spaces, didn't even take the vent cover off. Just told me to stay somewhere else if I feel unsafe. I didn't have anywhere else to go. Final night. 2 nights later, I barricaded the vent with furniture and tried to sleep. Around 1:45 a.m., I heard scratching. Not from the vent, but from the wall behind my closet. I moved the closet away and saw a small hole, just big enough for someone to squeeze through. That's when I realized the truth. He wasn't just in the vents. He was inside the walls. I grabbed my phone and started filming. As I backed away, a hand shot out from the hole, grabbing my ankle. I screamed and kicked, breaking free. I ran outside and didn't come back until morning with 3 friends and a crowbar. We tore open the wall. Behind it was a narrow passage between the studs, just wide enough for someone to crawl through. Inside were dozens of Polaroids. Some were of me, sleeping, changing, crying. We also found a makeshift bed, old food, and a notebook. The last page said, "You moved my closet. That's not nice." Aftermath. I moved out the next day. Police are now actively investigating. But they never found him. The landlord claimed he didn't know about any crawl spaces. I don't believe him. I check my vents every night now, even in my new place, because sometimes, when everything's quiet, I swear I still hear him whisper, "I miss you." I'm not sure if anyone will believe this, but I need to write it down before I go insane. I drive for a living, long hauls, mostly across the Midwest. It's a lonely job, but it pays the bills. I've seen weird things on the road before. Shadowy figures at night, strange roadside memorials, even a guy walking barefoot on I-80 in the middle of December. But nothing like what happened last fall. I was driving through Nebraska on my way to Colorado, transporting a refrigerated shipment. It was a quiet night, moonless, and there wasn't a car in sight. I had been on the road for about 6 hours and needed a break. There was a rest stop ahead, one of those isolated ones with just a couple vending machines, a bathroom, and a small parking lot surrounded by trees. I pulled in, turned off the engine, and stretched out my legs. The building was dimly lit, flickering fluorescent bulbs casting long shadows. I went inside to use the bathroom. The place was cleaner than I expected. Empty, quiet, almost too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your skin crawl. I walked to the sink and looked into the mirror. For a second, I thought something was wrong with my face, but it wasn't my face. It looked like me, sure, but something about the reflection felt off, like the version in the mirror was studying me. I chuckled nervously and shook my head. Just tired, I told myself. As I splashed cold water on my face, the fluorescent light above me blinked rapidly, then went out for a moment before coming back on. When it flickered back, my reflection hadn't moved. I had leaned over the sink, but the reflection was still standing upright, staring at me. I jumped back, heart hammering in my chest. And then, just like that, the reflection moved again, this time mimicking me. I ran out of the bathroom, not even stopping to zip up properly. I bolted to my truck, but paused before opening the door. I needed to calm down. Maybe I was just exhausted or hallucinating. I turned back to look at the rest stop building, and in the mirror inside the men's room window, I saw a shadow still standing there. It was shaped like me, but I wasn't in the bathroom anymore. I didn't sleep that night. I drove until sunrise and didn't stop until I reached a gas station crowded with people. I told myself to forget it. Maybe it was just a trick of the light, or stress, or whatever. But things got worse. A few days later, back home, I noticed my mirror was acting weird. Just like before, there were delays in my reflection's movements. Milliseconds at first, then longer. It mimicked me, sure, but it was just off. I decided to record it. I set up my phone in the bathroom and started filming myself brushing my teeth. When I watched the footage, everything looked normal except one frame. One frame showed my reflection smiling at me with a wide, toothy grin, while I wasn't smiling at all. I nearly dropped my phone. I tried to tell my brother about it, but he laughed it off, said I needed sleep. I stopped using mirrors, started shaving with the help of my phone camera, brushing my teeth in the dark. I even covered the mirror in my room with a bedsheet. It didn't help. 2 weeks ago, I was driving a late-night shift again. Around 2 a.m., I stopped for gas. The bathroom there had a mirror too, but this time I didn't even go inside. I avoided it completely. When I got back in my truck, I saw something in the rearview mirror. It was me, but not me. The thing was sitting in the back of my cab, grinning. I turned around instantly, heart pounding, and there was nothing there. But in the rearview mirror, he was still sitting there, watching. I punched the mirror off my windshield. I drove the rest of the way with it dangling, swinging like a broken limb. Last night, I woke up to the sound of shattering glass. I rushed to the bathroom, and the bedsheet covering my mirror had been ripped down. The mirror was cracked, not broken entirely, but spiderwebbed like something had punched it from the inside. And for a moment, I swear I saw something inside the mirror trying to push through. A hand, pale, thin, identical to mine. I'm writing this now from a motel room. All the mirrors are covered. Even the TV is turned around. But I can hear tapping. Not from the door, not from the window, from the bathroom. It's coming from the mirror. I don't know how much longer I can last. I think whatever I saw at that rest stop has followed me. Or maybe replaced me. Maybe I'm not even me anymore. If you're reading this, never trust what you see in the mirror, because something might be looking back.